those sounds happen throughout the day, and I think what's most unnerving is to know that the people who live in this neighborhood all around here, they were under ISIS control just about 2 months ago. Many of them have family who are trapped among the hundreds of thousands who are trapped inside West Mosul right now.
That's Avery Haines, just 2 kilometers from the front lines of the battle to get ISIS out of West Mosul, where they are essentially holding hostage some 200,000 innocent civilians. Avery actually spent a couple of weeks living in this former ISIS mosque, which has been turned into a trauma stabilization point, treating victims of ISIS, both civilian and Iraqi military soldiers. Avery joins us now. Avery, I know you're putting together a documentary on this, which will air later on City, but there's been some developments in that exact area where you were living. Tell us about those.
Yeah, I was living at this mosque along with Iraqi and international medics, and we received one of the days that we were there a warning about a possible threat of an ISIS suicide attack.
Can you just tell me about the text that came in?
This just came in. All intel reported there is a planned attack against a hospital in Hammam al-Lil, utilizing an ambulance and a suicide vest. What would one suicide vest do?
Anybody within 15 meters dead. Anybody within 25 is pretty up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it went off in the quad, we would be like really hurt or dead. I like to think that they would die and we would just be a little bit hurt.
All right, so that threat was not realized, obviously, but I just have been messaging with an Iraqi friend of mine who is in West Mosul. He says ISIS did just launch a suicide offensive just 500 meters from the very hospital where we would regularly take critically injured patients, an MSF hospital in West Mosul. And this, Richard, is an area that had been liberated for the last 2 or 3 months.
Well, yeah, on it goes. I mean, my question for you, Avery, I mean, maybe you can answer it because obviously you were there and you were talking to people, is clearly there's a cohesive ISIS fighting force there in West Mosul, but I've always viewed ISIS as being more of an ideology. Is there a military victory to be had in West Mosul? Will the Iraqi army go, okay, we got the last one? That's not going to happen, is it?
Well, you could hear the sounds around me while we were there. There is a major offensive, U.S. airstrikes almost constantly. There is a legitimate army of ISIS fighters in West Mosul right now, but you're absolutely right. It's an ideology that's not going to end when Mosul falls, when Mosul is entirely liberated, which is expected to happen in the next few days.
We're hearing just this evening that Russia is claiming to have killed ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. If that's true, Avery, would that be a setback, do you think, for ISIS?
I think it'd be a major setback, and they are losing Mosul. They are losing Syria. Iraq is another area in Syria that they do have control of. They're gradually losing that, but as we know from the terror attacks that are happening around the world, you can't stop them out by liberating cities. I do want to let you know, just in case my mom is watching, I was not wearing a bulletproof vest while I was standing there because we were at that point out of the range of sniper fire. That did change while I was there, and that'll be part of the documentary. But that's why I wasn't wearing it.
Look, as journalists, we want to go where the story is, and clearly you did, but I mean, the bombs are going off behind you. Were you scared at any point?
You know, I found it very unsettling to talk to my friend who's in West Mosul right now about what had happened there, that I was in that hospital. I was driving through the streets in the back of an ambulance. But more than anything, I think I'm just heartbroken for the people of Iraq who have gone through so much, decades of war, and they've now finally starting to feel as though they can rebuild just a couple of months after being free of ISIS. And the psychological terror that this organization is able to inflict on a nation by coming back to an area that was, you know, the stalls are starting to go up, people are starting to sell fruit again in that area, to come back, 50 Daesh fighters coming in with suicide bombs and vests, coming right close to an MSF hospital, which according to my source has now been shut down, so isn't taking civilians who are being shot as they're trying to escape West Mosul. I mean, it's beyond tragic.
And last thought on this, Avery, because it is tragic. How do we enact change? How do we look at this and make a difference? Can we?
Oh man, Richard, I don't know. I don't know. I honestly, I can't answer that. I think that there's, Iraq has really suffered the biggest brunt of ISIS as well as Syria. So I think that having heartfelt feelings for the people of Iraq who are, especially those, I mean, if you stop to think about it for a second, in this city, which is kind of the size of Toronto, up to 200,000 people are trapped. I mean, they're being held hostage right now, and they have for the past 3 years. My documentary, where I'm working like crazy, I shot 9 hours, so I'm trying to wrap it down to an hour. I think it's going to air the last week of June, first week of July, but we'll have details as we get closer to it.
Look forward to that, Avery.
All right, thanks so much.
Thanks.
All right, so again, as I'm mentioning, we'll have more on that documentary coming up at the end of June or the beginning of July.